Hi. Look, we do realize we are the impediment between you and the afternoon nap. So we will try to make this time worth your penny. So when you convert Malaysian ringgit to Bangladeshi taka, investing in Bangladesh looks very good because you become rich very, very quickly. The other thing that happens when you go to Bangladesh and try to invest, as you probably know, we are incredibly good in making clothes. So even if you don't get your returns back, you will definitely look much, much better, just like all of us who have traveled from Bangladesh. So I'd like to start with a small story. A story of a 22-year-old kid. He runs a small startup in Bangladesh, and he makes robotic arms and legs for the injured, people who have lost limbs. Interestingly enough, his products have traveled across the globe. The Malaysian supply chain of chips and semicons have been baked into his product. And more interestingly, the seed money for his business actually came from one of the subsidiaries of Axiata Group called R Ventures. So this is one small example of how Malaysian investment, the Bangladeshi youth got together to do something really good for the society. And this is exactly why we are here and we are excited about the future of our country. We genuinely think that the country is actually at an inflection point. And this slide will give you a sense of why we think the country is at an inflection point. Around 1990s, the indicators that Malaysia had are precisely the indicators that we have today. And the ones that are sitting here from Malaysia, you've all experienced the journey that Malaysia has gone through in the last 30 odd years and has come where it is today. We expect Bangladesh to take the same journey, possibly not in 30, but probably in 15 years, because we'll learn from you. If this doesn't convince you, the other slide that I would like to show is this one. So if you consider the factors of production, when you try to do business, you're looking at land, labor, all these specific factors that drive competitive advantage. If you look at what Malaysia offers today versus what you could get in Bangladesh, you can easily see that there's value in considering, should you produce here and sell here, or should you produce in Bangladesh and sell here? And of course, on top of that, you have nearly half the size of Malaysian geographic territory, but nearly 6 times the population of this country caged in a small piece of land. That's your big consumer market. Actually, I don't know if you know the statistics that by 2030, the consumer market in Bangladesh is going to be the 8th largest in the world, even larger than the UK economy. As you can also see, we've done our own research. We've looked at our peer markets, our competitors, and we genuinely believe that we are at an advantage in becoming one of the factories of the globe and be able to serve to the rest of the region by producing in Bangladesh and getting it out of the country. Now, if you're convinced in why, then the next classic question that I always hear is, okay, fair enough, there's a reason to invest in Bangladesh, but where should we invest in Bangladesh? We've done our research for that. We've made your life slightly easier by doing that. So earlier this year, with the multilaterals and also some of the investment banks and consultants, we did this study to understand where does Bangladesh have comparative advantage. It's a 2x2 matrix. If I zoom into the top right corner, these are the possible sectors where if you throw money today, you're likely to get the highest level of returns in Bangladesh. So they range from light engineering to IT enabling services. Textile, of course, is in the mix. But then you also have some more advanced stuff like pharmaceutical, agro-processing, and renewable energy. I'll give you a flavor of one of them. So let's look at our favorite topic, renewables. So if you look at renewables, Bangladesh has actually pledged to reduce the CO2 emission by 22% by 2030, which means we have to intervene not only in the automotives, but also in the renewable energy, the entire spectrum. To do that, what we did earlier this year, we've reduced the tax burden on EV cars and EV tractors. So especially if you produce in Bangladesh, then the rates are significantly lower than the conventional vehicles and significantly lower than importing. So that's a hint. At the same time, if you go to the right-hand side, so you see that obviously 200 million people create a lot of waste, and therefore there's a huge opportunity for waste to energy type of recycling, power generation. The same applies for solar. We do have our honorable energy advisor here, so please feel free to exchange cards and bombard him with your pitch. We've done significant policy adjustments in recent times in terms of tariff and non-tariff barriers, tax reductions and non-fiscal incentives to make sure that landing in Bangladesh for a specific industry or sector is far more convenient than most of the other markets. The other cross-cutting example that I would really like to cover is probably the halal industry. Now, this is a statistics that most of the people actually don't know. So the conventional agricultural growth in our country, agricultural export from our country, is actually much faster and higher than most of these halal exporters. But that's conventional. Only about 100 companies in Bangladesh have currently a halal certification from JAKIM. But imagine if this 100 had another zero beside it. Imagine if we could create a dedicated halal economic zone, which we actually talked about this morning with your Honorable Prime Minister. So as these interventions come into play, we honestly think that there's huge opportunity for Malaysian halal businesses to move from here back to Dhaka, back to Bangladesh, potentially serve the Bangladeshi Muslim market, serve back the Malaysian Muslim market, and possibly serve the global halal market. So these are some of the examples that we wanted to show you. If you are convinced that, yes, the why checks out, the where checks out, then the next question is, how would you invest? There are obviously three major tracks through which you can invest. The first one is the classic one, the greenfield, but we also have this option, which I think has worked very well for a lot of international companies who have walked into Bangladesh to come in to Bangladesh through a joint venture. We do have quite a few Bangladeshi businesses who have traveled with us to join this seminar. So if I could kindly request them to stand up and show their hands so that after the seminar we could have everyone just network. The traveling Bangladeshi businesses from Dhaka? Thank you. Thank you. So please feel free to socialize with them, and maybe this is the right track. And then finally, the third track I would really like to focus on is state-owned entities. Over time, Bangladesh has liberalized a lot. So the theme for the current government and potentially the governments to come is that government doesn't need to be in the business of doing business. That needs to be given away to private sector. So a lot of state-owned entities we're now trying to actually monetize and allow private sector to come in. So there is a portfolio of state-owned entities that you can also look at, and please feel free to get in touch with us to talk about them. Timing-wise, we also believe this is the right time. The reason we believe this is the right time is because the inflations have started to go down. The exchange rate has remained very stable for about 12 months now. And at the same time, we have seen massive uptick in export out of Bangladesh, and a lot of which is because of the policy interventions and the logistic network improvement that we have experienced in the last few months. We do intend to, in the next 5 years, almost quadruple our port capacity, which then would make this number look like a small number. And if you do invest in Bangladesh, the other small table that I'm very proud of is this table. It is not a short game. You're not going to go in like a gambler and throw money in Bangladesh and get out next day. That actually doesn't give you a lot of return. But if you stick around, it is statistically proven that Bangladesh does give you a much higher return on equity relative to most of these companies' global business. So there's a clear trend that if you stick to Bangladesh, it is an emerging market. It is sometimes hard to land, sometimes hard to do business. But if you're able to navigate through that, then surely you can make way above return compared to your global business. So how can we help? The investor journey is obviously pretty long. I understand some of you are exploring, some of you are doing due diligence. Please feel free to go to bida.gov.bd or investbangladesh.gov.bd. That will give you all the research material that some of that we have shared with you here today. We have set up something called an investor relationship management team. So if you reach out to us, we will assign a relationship manager for you who will help you walk through the government tallies so that you don't have to try to figure out who do you need to talk to and which license do you need to get to start doing business in Bangladesh. This is a new addition to our arsenal, and we are really excited about it, and we do think that that will make the investor journey much, much easier. So that's kind of our how. The three people that you probably need to know are these three people. We do have the commercial counselor based out of Kuala Lumpur, who will be your primary point of contact from here. At the same time, we do have a team in BIDA who is specifically assigned to support the Southeast Asian clients, and they'll be very happy to answer your questions, help you walk through the investment process and policies in Bangladesh. I did see a lot of people videotaping, but I always have this. I should have probably have it at the beginning of the presentation so that no one had to videotape my presentation. You can actually scan the QR code and download it. It's available for everyone to have a look. Look, this is a pitch to invest in Bangladesh, and I genuinely believe the only way we can complete this pitch is if we have a Malaysian investor who has gone into Bangladesh, and hopefully we'll hear from them. Hopefully they've had a very good experience. So that's why my part 2 of presentation would be given by an investor who has invested in Bangladesh. So may I request Vivek to come on stage and kindly join me in presenting. Thank you. Thank you very much.